Hi everybody, I think it's time to talk about Oraxia. Araxia is a gun frame. She's a gun frame with the ability to do companion things, and I think that's really cool. But let's go over her abilities really quick. Ignore these for now. I don't know if they're actually optimal. So her passive is a full invisibility on wall latch for 8 seconds. It does not stay active if you stay latched to the same location. It does require you to re-latch to different locations all the time, which is fine. I think it actually works to her benefit with her playstyle. Her one is a execute on low health enemies and drops a ridiculous amount of health orbs and energy orbs, as well as doing a good amount of damage. It also dashes you to the target. It is quite good as a energy restoring ability, but it's not necessary for her builds. I believe this is her most subsumable slot, although I don't think I'm going to subsume anything on her. Webbed Embrace is similar to Caliban's Sentient Wrath, except you can place these down and then they stay in that location for a good amount of time. 38 seconds is where it got mine. It does a small amount of damage and then has a 154% damage vulnerability. That is quite large. It is a really, really good lockdown tool for like defense and survivals and that kind of stuff. So I think this is a really, really good ability. Although not very conducive to very, very mobile gameplay, especially if you're just running through missions. But that's okay. It doesn't need to be. Widow's Brood is her companions, her little spiderlings, the scuttlers. When you shoot this at enemies, it basically applies the debuff to them, and then when they die, they can spawn a scuttler. There is a ridiculous amount of scuttlers, 10 being the max, and they actually do a lot of damage. In the Simulacrum, I believe they are a little bugged right now. They always spawn at level 500, no matter what enemy level there are, so they are a bit stronger here, but they do a lot of toxin. They've guaranteed toxin procs. I believe they do not work with Archon continuity right now, although I think that's going to get fixed. And they last a good amount of time. They also draw threat, so I think that's the biggest thing, is that this is basically a survivability tool if you are not invisible, which is cool. Now let's talk about her most important ability, Silken Stride. This is a damage and health increase, and it changes your dodge to a grapple, a wall grapple. It also causes it so that when enemies die from your shots, they explode. And currently I have mine at 7.25 meters. I haven't been entirely sold on a build just yet for her. I currently have 145% strength, or sorry, range, and I believe I want to go a little higher strictly because of that explosion radius. That said, while wall latched, you do twice the damage as if you weren't wall latched. So if you're wall latched, you do more damage with the toxin proc. You gain extra HP, which is why we run Bellicose. I debated running Bellicose or Augmented because you like strength on her 4, but honestly, you like strength on the other abilities too, so it's worth it. So let's show what that looks like in action. I am choosing the Kubatankor because I don't think the Kubatankor is incredible as a weapon. It kills, but it's going to show off a lot of how powerful she actually is. So these are, keep in mind, level 205 Steel Path Heavy Gunners. These are tankier than the average enemy that you'll ever see in the game at baseline. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our Matter Eye buff. We're going to pop into our 4. We're going to grapple up here, drop our damage vulnerability, our little guys, and then we're going to shoot the Tonkor. And it's going to kill them. And now we've got all these scuttlers, so let's show off what they do. And I need to kill an enemy with my 1 to get some energy back. And I got my full energy back. So these are what they're doing. They are, again, level 500. So they are a little higher level than they should be. But if you can see, they are applying both corrosive. Okay, so they are applying corrosive through continuity. That's cool. But they do a really good amount of damage. For some reason it says I have 13 of them. I'm supposed to only have 10, but that's fine. You know what? Simulacrum bugs. Hell yeah. They do make short work of enemies, and I do have... I believe I'm using the Summoner's Wrath. No, I'm using Steel Charge. So I'm using this for space. This is sort of what I settled on. I'm using Steel Charge for space. This was the other option that I was considering. But I like the additional health from Vitality for Silken Stride with Bellicose. You could alternatively just go regular Vitality here and save yourself the 4 mod spots, but you're losing 30% health. I like the double. Not a huge fan of the fact that we may have to use an Umbral Forma for her in an optimal situation, so that's why I put this together. I also wanted to see the range that was possible on her 4, and it's 210 meters. Take that what you will, and it looks like the explosion radius is capped at 10 meters for her kills. But let's take this into a real mission so you can see what it's kind of about. For those of you who don't know, I like testing on the Lua Conjunction Survival. It is the highest level baseline spawning of any enemies in the game. That's why I typically like to do it, because it is kind of the hardest that you'll get. You'll notice that things actually die faster in this mission than they did in the Simulacrum. That is, again, because Steel Path Heavy Gunners are actually significantly tankier than almost all of these enemies. Pretty much across the board. We're doing so much damage that it doesn't even, matter what we do. I'm barely using... I don't use my 1 as much. This is why I said it's super easy to replace. But you'll see, just her as a gun platform is incredibly good. Again, this is the reason why I'm not a huge fan of the webbed embrace, because in real gameplay, you're not usually sitting still. It's great for defense, but again, you're likely going to just put a lower damage, high explosive weapon on her because of how good Toxin is, and just be able to... Oh, well, that's a fun one. That was interesting. Anyways, you're more than likely to just put a low damage, high explosive weapon on so that you can kill enemies en masse, because she increases the damage you do by a lot. Surprise. And is status immune. So that means she can't knock herself down. So here's to showcase a little bit more of the Scuttlers and the 2 damage vulnerability. We're going to stay here for a little while, see if we can funnel enemies into the spot. I do have Arcane Crepuscular active, so I do have additional crit damage while invisible, which is really nice. It does end up giving us a quite large amount of damage reduction, damage increase, as well as the strength increase, which is neat. But she plays really uniquely, and I genuinely think it's really, really interesting. So far, I have seen probably a dozen different builds using various different things. We have people running Nourish over her 3 by completely ignoring the Scuttlers. I've seen people running Desiccation's Curse with the extra Kavat to run a Summoner style build over her 1. I've seen a good number of people try Volt's ability with Shock Trooper, giving you that extra electric damage. So we get both electric and toxin. But this is my point. She is incredibly strong, and honestly, on paper, she can go to level cap without abilities. She can go to level cap without actually having mods equipped. An invisibility where she can zap like this to the walls and stuff is really powerful. I like her as a gun frame. I like her like this. This is a really fun playstyle. Being able to just zip around, funnel enemies in. Like, the only thing she's missing in my eyes is a speed up like Nova's. If she could speed enemies up to make them run into her webs faster, I feel like she would be entirely broken. And we're gonna get Acolyte here, so let's try this. Let's see what this smells like. I have a feeling that we are probably just going to kill them. Well, it is violence, so unfortunately, didn't matter. Very nice. He didn't even end up silencing us, which is really funny. But you can see, like, most of the time I'm just getting kills with the Tonkor because her ability to be a gun frame is really good. She abuses equilibrium really heavily, especially with Mercy's Kiss if you need energy. That entirely fills my energy bar. It is a little unwieldy to use, especially if you're doing enough damage, because you are kind of just killing enemies rather than actually, you know, getting them below a certain HP threshold, which is fine. It's fine. It works. And so again, that's why it's the easiest to replace. Again, I hate saying it, but it's probably best to replace it with Nourish. It solves two problems for her. It gives her more damage. It gives her the extra energy regen. It is a very, very powerful sim, sort of across the board. I don't know. I feel like you could probably put whatever you feel like on her, and it actually would function to the point of going to level cap. Having an invisibility on her passive that is really easily activated, that doesn't require energy, is really strong. I don't know if anybody knows that, but there's a reason why Wisp can get to level cap without any mods. So, it's quite impressive. And because I have so much HP, my threshold for dying instantly is really low. So in fact, I could probably just stand here for a little bit and take some damage. If they were alive, let's see. Hit me. Rather to focus on my scuttlers. There, my shields are broken. See, I don't have a lot of ability to shield gate or health tank, but I don't instantly die, and that is the part that matters. Remember, this is the max level steel path enemies that you'll fight at baseline. So maybe it's a little higher because we're not in a relic, but it is strong enough to take a hit in Elite Temporal Archimedia and Elite Thief Archimedia, and that's the part that matters. One hit is enough time for you to get into Invis or Shieldgate or whatever sort of survivability you feel like. And that is Araxia. She is really fun. I think she is arguably one of the best frames in the game now. She's fast, she's not beating Titania, she's not beating Volt, she's not beating Gauss, but she is really, really fast. Her damage is really high as well, even if you don't use her as a gun frame. Her ability to do damage with Webbed Embrace and Widow's Brood is really high, so I think this is a really, really good frame. Again, this isn't my final build, this isn't a build guide, this is just talking about Araxia as a whole, and how great she is. So, I hope you guys are enjoying her. I thoroughly am, and I will be for the next little while. I think she might actually move into one of my top played, which is really interesting. I didn't even notice that was an Agile, I didn't know that was an animation. That spider kind of came out of nowhere. Anyways, I will see you guys in the next one, and thanks for watching. Goodbye!